some thoughts on this past weekend. And you know what I have to start with. I have to start with the main event this past weekend in Norfolk, Virginia. UFC flyweight title fight. We talked all week long if this was the beginning of a new era for the flyweights, if this was an opportunity for either Joseph Benavidez or Deiveson Figueiredo to assert themselves as the new face of the flyweight weight class. It seemed pretty clear that Henry Cejudo did not want to cut to 125 anymore, and especially at the beginning of the week, we found out that Cejudo was going to defend his bantamweight title in May against Jose Aldo. And we could talk on and on about that, and I feel like I've made my thoughts pretty clear on that fight and how crazy of a fight it is last week. And so I won't get too much into the weeds on that particular one, but it did seem like the dawn of a new era. Well, guess what happens on Friday? By now, you probably know Deiveson Figueiredo missed weight Friday morning. Weighs in at 127.5 pounds. Benavidez makes weight. So now we got a problem, right? This is just the fourth time, I should say, that there were 3 times prior to that, just the 4th time in UFC history that a title contender misses weight. First time, Joe Riggs, Matt Hughes. Second time, Travis Lutter against Anderson Silva. Third time, Yoel Romero against Robert Whittaker. That graphic's a little bit wrong. It should be Robert Whittaker. But you get the point. Romero missed it prior to an interim title fight. In any event, we had a problem here because we've got a situation where the UFC is trying to crown a new champion. Well, in order to win the belt, you have to make weight. So what happened was sort of shades like Toronto a couple years ago where we had Anthony Pettis and Max Holloway fighting for the interim belt. Remember, Anthony Pettis missed weight, so the belt was only on the line for Max Holloway. It was the same thing going into Saturday. And you got the feeling, as wacky as this division has been over the past 8 years, remember how it all started with the miscalculation between Ian McCall and DJ in Australia. I just had a feeling on Friday, like, of course this is going to happen. Of course Figueiredo is going to win this fight, and the belt will be vacant. And now the division is really going to be in shambles. It seemed like everyone was rooting for Benavidez because if he won, he'd be the champion and he would breathe new life into the division. But it just seemed like, as weird as this division has been since its inception, something wacky is going to happen. And guess what? Something wacky did happen because Deiveson Figueiredo won the fight on Saturday. Not only did he win, he annihilated Joseph Benavidez. I mean, that was, in my opinion, quite one-sided. And I just got the sense, much like the Whittaker-Izzy fight back in October, Benavidez to me seemed tentative. He seemed nervous. He seemed like he was putting too much pressure on his shoulders. He was saying all week long how he wasn't doing that. And when he got into the cage, it seemed like he was too caught up in the moment. And in the fight itself, look, I'm not going to be the kind of guy to like break down film. I'm not going to be that guy. I'll never be that guy. But I know fights when I watch them. I know what's going on. I've watched enough of them at this point. I don't know what Benavidez was doing. He was swinging for the fences left and right. He was throwing haymakers. It seemed like he wanted to end this fight early. It seemed like he wanted to knock out Davison. But he wasn't setting anything up. Everything was telegraphed. Everything was these big, loopy punches. It was very wild. It was very unimpressive. And I tweeted going into the second round, I thought Figueredo won the first round, and I said, Benavidez better be careful because he's going to get caught. Figueredo is really good. I know he's not a household name, but he is really good, and he hits really hard. He is going to catch Benavidez. Moments later, they clash heads, and let's make something very clear here. The clashing of the heads was not Figueredo's fault. Yes, they clashed heads, opened up a big gash, but they clashed heads because Benavidez was leading with his head and then moved it up. If he doesn't do that, which he was doing in the first round, they're not clashing heads. That was not Figueredo's fault. So anyone who's blaming Figueredo for this, look, he deserves enough blame for missing weight. He screwed himself in that situation, but not in the clashing of the heads department. And that was the beginning of the end, and then he gets knocked out. And it was kind of shades of the Demetrius Johnson fight. And you feel for Benavidez. He is a veteran. He is a great fighter. This now his 3rd crack at a UFC belt in the last, 8 or so years. He had a crack in WEC, so technically 0-3 in the UFC, 0-4 under the Zuffa umbrella. No one has ever gone 0-3 in official title fights. I know some of you like to bring up the Uriah Faber-Barao interim title fight. I'm not going to count that one. So no one has ever gone more than 0-3. No one has done worse than 0-3, I should say. And a bunch of people like Gustafsson and Dan Henderson, others have gone, Chael Sonnen have gone 0-3, and now Benavidez finds himself in that category, and you have to wonder if he ever gets another title shot. And so we have a situation where Figueiredo wins, and the title is vacant. And so I see a lot of people saying, like, let's be done with it. This is the perfect out. It's over. I say no. I say you have something special in Figueredo. Look, the UFC can't afford to get rid of divisions. They can't afford to get rid of titles. Not right now. Not when they're putting on 42, 43 events a year. Not when they're creating interim titles. Not when they're trying to find suitable main events for all these shows week after week after week. You can't do that. You've got an official belt. Don't get rid of it now. The same reason you shouldn't get rid of the women's featherweight division, the 145-pound weight class for the women. I wouldn't get rid of that either. Deiveson Figueiredo versus Joseph Benavidez, non-title fight, is kind of a hard sell, let's be honest, as a main event, right? Deiveson Figueiredo versus Joseph Benavidez for the flyweight title is an easy sell. You got the poster, you got the belt, you've got stakes. Oh, it's a title fight on ESPN+. Now you can sell something. So you need those titles. I wouldn't get rid of it. Now, it's a bit clunky. It's unfortunate. There's no champion. But what you have to do is find a new contender for 125 and match him up against Deiveson Figueiredo. You got to give him another crack. I know you don't want to reward someone. Let's be honest. The man has suffered enough. Didn't get a performance bonus. I saw an MMA junkie that his Reebok thing went down from $30,000 to $5,000, which to me is just absolutely ludicrous. I mean, what? If he had a sponsor, they wouldn't dock his pay because he missed weight. Unless they're a really mean sponsor. He deserves his $30,000 for being in the main event. But again, no one's collectively bargaining that, and no one has a seat at the table, and you know how I feel about all of that. In the end, the guy lost a lot. Not only did he lose a chance at becoming a champion, he lost a lot of money as well. I think he's suffered enough. So book him. If you want to do it against Benavidez again, sure. I don't see a lot of interest in that fight. What I would do is Figueiredo against Henry Cejudo in Brazil. Tell Jose Aldo, can you win one fight? Can you win one fight at 135? With all due respect, you're a legend. You're a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't want to disrespect you, but can you win one fight at 135? Let's do Cejudo Figueiredo at 125 in Brazil, May 9th, UFC 250, and do Amanda Nunes against Felicia Spencer in the co-main event. Who says no? Hello, everyone. It's Ariel Helwani. I just came here to thank you for watching our ESPN YouTube channel. It's the best. You know what else is the best? The ESPN app. You can get highlights, analysis, all that stuff and more. And if you want premium content and live streaming sports, there's only one place for all of that. It's ESPN+.